This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
That's a good meme right there.
Todd.
Yeah.
Todd, what are you doing?
Huh?
Todd, what are you doing?
Oh, that's a good one too right there.
Time to start the show.
What? I'm checking my texts. Do you mind?
No, I check mine between segments.
Yeah, but you don't need a segue into this segment about the Abrahamic Fallacy. I did. This is Wretched Radio. So the other day, received a text from my daughter asking, hey, what's up with people who say that Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they're all a part of the Abrahamic faith? As if to say, see, they're all the same. Response, that would be the Abrahamic Fallacy. Perhaps you've heard this one. People loved, postmodern mostly, in an effort to water down Jesus Christ being the exclusive way, the exclusive truth and life. Hey, y'all come from Father Abraham. You just you're different branches, kind of off of Abraham. So can't we just all get along? Well, Christianity is about getting along non-theologically. We're the peaceful people, if you don't mind me saying so. We don't blow up people that disagree with us theologically. How do we respond to the Abrahamic Fallacy? This was from New English Review. I thought this was Mark Durley. I thought this was just very helpful. Here's the difference. This was from Mike Riccardi originally. When asked about the difference between Judaism and Islam and Christianity, Jesus. That's it. That's the bottom line. Jesus makes all the difference. So yes, we all do come from the line of Abraham as descendants, because we go back to Abraham, who was brought into a covenant with God. That covenant, by the way, which still endures. And Christianity flows out of that, the church. We're not Israel. We're the church. We've been grafted in. That's our relationship. What about Islam? What about Judaism? Are we all the same? And the answer to that is no, we're not all the same because of Jesus. He makes all the difference in the world. Do they believe Jesus is God? No. Okay, then we're not the same, even though we go back to Abraham. Nevertheless, I thought this was a helpful response to it. Abraham is shared as a point of common origin by these monotheistic religions. Naming him as their shared identity is meant to signal these three faiths are linked together in some kind of theological continuity. No, they're not. Judaism, Christianity, we both appreciate Abraham because of Genesis, but there's differences between the two faiths. Neither Judaism nor Christianity is content to read Abraham solely through the lens of Genesis. Why? Paul frames Abraham in the New Testament as being justified by faith. Abraham believed the Lord, and the Lord reckoned it to him as righteousness. Romans 4:22, quoting Genesis 15:6. The Jews, they think that Abraham is a great example of, well, he's a good Jew. He's the idol-destroying monotheist, a forerunner of Torah observance. And Paul says, no, he's an example of grace alone, faith alone in Jesus Christ alone. So we don't even have continuity in our understanding of the role and the person of Abraham with Jewish people. But what about with Muslims? Abraham of the Quran, very different figure than the father of many in Genesis. His function in theological history and his relationship with God is very differently understood. There are 69 verses in the Quran which mention Abraham by name. Second most frequently mentioned biblical figure after Moses. Like other biblical references found in the Quran, it appears to allude to Jewish traditions circulating in the 7th century A.D. So where did the writer of the Quran get their information? Not so much from the Old Testament, but more from Jewish traditions around the 7th century, which would make sense because that's when Islam began. The references do not show signs of being directly shaped or even influenced to any degree by someone who is familiar with the book of Genesis. That's not a shocker, because the understanding of Islam about Christianity is bonkers. I mean, it's not even a correct understanding of three persons, one God. It's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Mary is somehow that God had a baby through Mary, and that we worship Mary. Well, that's not biblical. That might be influenced by some traditions. It might be influenced by the Roman Catholic Church, but that certainly isn't biblical. So the representation of Christianity in the Quran isn't even biblical. Abraham, according to the Quran, is the one who gave Muslims to Allah's followers. That would be your Surah 2278. He was a model imam. Instead of calling Abraham the father of nations, the Quran describes him as the leader, the imam of nations. And from his line, other leaders will come, including Muhammad. So instead of Abraham being a blessing to the nations, he is a forerunner and model for future leaders. That's different. Are we all of Abraham? Really? That's why this is the Abrahamic fallacy that we can't be duped by. Jesus is the primary issue, but also our understanding of Abraham alone says, no, we're not all the same at all. Strikingly, Abraham of the Quran, who adheres to the same doctrine Muhammad taught, hatred and enmity toward believers. There has arisen between us and you hostility and hate forever until you believe in Allah only. That was Abraham, Surah 64. What about Mecca and Ishmael, a distinctive of Abraham in the Quran, that he and his son Ishmael built the Kaaba in Mecca and established it as a place of worship? That would be your Surah 125 and 127. No historical evidence to support that. Certainly nothing biblical. Notably, the Quran refers to Ishmael as a prophet of God like Abraham, and within a litany of what the Bible calls patriarchs or prophets, the name of Ishmael can be found. Jacob himself names Ishmael among his fathers. What role does Ishmael play in Christian theology? Well, only as a picture, really. He is not the heir of Abraham. The Muslims, they cling to Ishmael, that their line comes through Abraham, Ishmael. Is that Christian? No. It's Abraham and Isaac, the child of promise. That's another distinction making this the Abrahamic fallacy. The religion of Abraham was Islam. That's what the Quran teaches, that the religion of Abraham is Islam. And there's a ton of surahs. Follow the religion of Abraham. Why disbelieve ye in the revelations of Allah? These are all surahs. Why drive you back, believers, from the way of Allah, seeming to make it crooked, when we are witnesses to Allah's guidance? This is not the same religion as Judaism or Christianity, and they say Abraham is the one who really is a Muslim. Abraham was neither a Christian nor a Jew, Surah 2, 135, calling Islam the religion of Abraham. The Quran states Abraham was neither a Christian nor a Jew, Surah 365, 367, tell a Jew that Abraham was not Jewish. He was the first one called by God, if you will. He was the one called out of a strange land with whom he cut a covenant. For what? A land, a nation, and a seed. He was most certainly a part of it because he was in that covenant. Muslims must accept Abraham. It's an article of faith that Muslims are commanded to make no distinction between the messengers. They should accept Abraham just as they accept Muhammad. Surah 2, 285. We could go on, but you get the point, don't you? All of this is yet another internet effort to try to make Christianity less than what it is, and then to lecture us to just get along, which is kind of funny, if you don't mind me saying so. The key distinction in the difference between these three monotheistic religions is Jesus. It's not Abraham. It's Jesus who is the difference. And yet, your kids will hear this when they go to university. Your kids are going to see this when they go to the university. And make no mistake about it, they get confused a lot because there appears to be something about this, doesn't there? And on the surface, there is, unless you study this, which is a reminder, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, do not dumb things down for your kids. The other day, having a conversation with a young man, 19 years old, And we were talking about covenants and why our marriage covenant and why our marriage ceremony is so biblical. The vows that were taken sound like Adam to Eve. The killing of an animal, the till death do us part, the covenant symbol, the eating of a celebratory meal, and then one partner feeds the other partner in the covenant relationship, hence the cake feeding ceremony. And he was like, wow, why wasn't I taught that? We used to teach those things to our kids, and they used to understand the continuity of the Bible. Today, not so much. And along comes an internet meme stating that Abraham is the shared founder of Christianity and Judaism and Christianity, so quit with the theological distinctives, and they go for it. Let us not water down theology. It is not dull, and it is needed. Otherwise, you can just say bye-bye to your kids. Until tomorrow, go serve your king.
Hey,
Todd.
sweetie.
Take her around the block a few times?
Who's a good girl? You're not, because nobody does good. No, not one. Romans 5 says we're born in sin and iniquity, and our hearts are deceitful and wicked. You know that if you'd use the law, which brings about the knowledge of sin.